Hello everyone, welcome to Sunya IAS and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to talk about a static plus contemporary topic which is going to remain relevant till at least 2026. Okay, and even after more than that maybe. See, because the topic is Finance Commission and we all know that till 2025-26, the period of 15th Finance Commission has been decided. So till 2026, the 15th Finance Commission recommendations will be fulfilled, and after that, the 16th Finance Commission and whatever mechanism will now be decided will be fulfilled. So what UPSC is habitual of is that any time during the period of 15th Finance Commission, it will ask you two things. What are the comparisons with 14th Finance Commission? Although this is very less likely now because it has been some time since the 14th Finance Commission recommendations, actually the period ended. It ended in 2019. So this is less likely now. But most expected question is that what are the recommendations? How the 16th Finance Commission recommendations can take cue from it? And what can be improved? What are the issues? Okay. This is the more likely question. And another thing is the impact of 15th Finance Commission. Okay. So these are the kind of questions that are expected. Now, of course, I don't need to tell you this, that it is relevant for two papers. Even for GS2, it is relevant. For GS2, it is relevant as a body, as a constitutional body. Okay. It is relevant as a constitutional body, so you can be asked about what is the Finance Commission of India, what are the qualifications required, what are some of the crucial recommendations, etc. Sometimes theoretical questions also end up coming. Okay. In GS3, if you get a question, you will get a detailed question. Okay. And this particular lecture will cover everything that you require from the static perspective, from the dynamic perspective, from the GS2 perspective, from the GS3 perspective. Okay, that is there. Now let me address a few questions that you guys mostly have. The primary question is regarding the notes of this class. The notes of this class, there are two ways to get the notes of this class. One is you go for the Sunya IAS books. Okay. So we have GS books, the general studies books for paper 1, 2, 3 and 4. This particular topic you will find in paper 2 book, okay, GS2 book. So you can go for Sunya IAS books, or if you somehow don't want to go for that or do not have those books already, you can go for handwritten notes that you will make during this class, okay. So it is up to you, whatever you want. That is about the notes. So if you will ask for the PDF, that will not be provided to you. There are two ways to get the notes for this class, and I've already told you the two ways to get the notes of this class. Okay. Now let's start with the discussion of the Finance Commission overall, and in particular, let's discuss the 15th Finance Commission. So let's just start with the basics. The basic is that the article is Article 280. Okay. Article 280 calls for the President to constitute the Finance Commission. So you need to remember this, and it can be asked even in your prelims that whether the qualifications of the Finance Commission members have been mentioned in the Constitution. No. The qualifications are mentioned in two laws, okay, and the qualifications for chairperson and members, you can write this, are mentioned. So for the chairperson, so for example, for the 15th Finance Commission, Mr. N.K. Singh is the chairperson, okay. So for the Finance Commission, the chairperson is someone who should have experience in public affairs. Experience in public affairs. This is the requirement that is mentioned in the laws, not in the Constitution. Now, for the members, there are a few requirements. either the person can be a sitting or ex-judge of High Court or Supreme Court, not a district court as such. So have been or ex-judge of the High Court or Supreme Court, or qualified to be so also. Qualified to be the judge of the High Court or the Supreme Court. So that is there. The second thing is that they should have wide experience in finance and administration. It is mentioned. Now this is a very vague terminology, but wide experience in finance and administration. And then we have another thing, they should have the knowledge of economics. These are basically similar things, but they have been mentioned separately in the act, so we need to know about it. Okay, so that is there. And overall another thing is that they should be having a knowledge and experience of accounts of the government. Accounts of the government. Fine. Here these are the four. Sitting judge is not a requirement, right? It can be has been a judge or is qualified to be a judge, because sitting judges cannot be a part of this finance commission. So sitting judge is not there, but otherwise the four conditions, and the condition of the chair is very important. Okay, this is there, the composition and overall the tenure. The tenure is 5 years. Now 15th Finance Commission has functioned for 1 + 5 years. So 15th Finance Commission brought out two reports, two recommendation reports. One was for the period 2019-20, and then from 2021 to 2026 they have brought a proper report, right? So that is there. So these are some of the basics. In mains, this is how much you need to write for the Finance Commission, because you don't need to print the entire Lakshmikant in the answer sheet of yours. You will not have that much space also, you will not have that much time also, and the cost benefit ratio is also not that much. Okay, so what do you have to do? You have to write substantive points that will get you marks. Okay, you will have to write substantive points. Let's see what those points can be. See, regarding the terms of reference of the Finance Commission. See, these are basically the job. What is a term of reference? These are the jobs that Finance Commission is supposed to do. What is the recommendations that Finance Commission is supposed to give? It is supposed to give recommendations about distribution of net proceeds of taxes overall, right? So the taxes that come to the Consolidated Fund of India, how are they to be distributed horizontally and vertically? So along with this, you can write also that horizontal distribution and vertical distribution. Horizontal means within the states, which state will get how much amount, right? And there was a question on this in the prelims examination in 2023 itself, that what are the indicators. We'll talk about the indicators. Vertical devolution is basically how much money should the center actually give to all the states combined. Okay, so 15th Finance Commission has recommended 41% devolution. Okay, and the 14th Finance Commission had recommended 42% devolution. Why this reduction in 1%? Because two new union territories have been created of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, and the responsibility of running the union territories is on the center entirely, and that is why this. So this is there. Then about grants in aid, what principles will determine how much grants in aid will be given to the states? Augmenting resources of panchayat, even this is a job, how to strengthen the financial condition of panchayats. Then augmenting resources of municipalities, and some other terms of references which you don't need to really write. You don't need to write others also. If you get a question on Finance Commission and you get a generic question on what are the jobs that a Finance Commission has to actually do, then write these pointers. Okay. Now, performance for the basis on which states will get the money from the central devolution. So 41% of center's revenue, of the overall revenue, will be credited to the states. Now, on what basis will the states, which state will get how much? These were the parameters, and these were the parameters for the 15th Finance Commission. Please note them down. There are various, and this is very different from the basis. Okay, so there are two categories. Just see here. There are two categories. One category is that you see the parameters, that on what basis we are going to give money to the states. One is how much weight you assign to every category. So for example, how much population a particular state has on the basis of 2011 census. This is one category on the basis of which weights are assigned in the 15th Finance Commission. So this is different, and these parameters are different. Okay, question was asked from this because these are the final recommendations. But let's see how Finance Commission has arrived at these recommendations also. Let's just discuss about that. Okay. Fine. So we have these parameters for performance, and please note them down. One is GST, that how well GST is being implemented in this particular state. So there's no need to explain this. According to the GST implementation, the performance will be evaluated. Then population growth. It is not that the more a state's population is, the more money they will get. No, not anymore. Okay. The population till the 14th Finance Commission was taken according to 1971 census. Okay. In 15th Finance Commission, 1971 census has not been included, but there is another parameter which is demographic performance. We will talk about this. Don't write this right now. Demographic performance. That means how much a state has worked on reducing its population and controlling its population, which the South Indian states have done very well. And this is a fear that South Indian states right now are having, that when the delimitation will happen in 2026, then what will we do? Right? Because in 2026, when the delimitation will happen, the North Indian states which have not worked on population control will get additional seats, and they will get additional revenue as well from the Finance Commission. So how are we supposed to take that? So that is a different debate. But population is also a basis. Then flagship schemes. There are many schemes. For example, power sector reforms. Right? There are many schemes which the center has been running, and we always say that there has to be performance based incentive of the states. So how much money a state will get will also depend on how well it is implementing the flagship schemes of the center. Okay. So like flagship schemes for example, Jan Dhan Yojana, how well states are actually performing it. And this maintains the federal structure. Otherwise, if this is not there, this basis is not there, then states will not actually adopt the central schemes at all, the centrally sponsored schemes. Then capital expenditure, power sector reforms, this is one basis. Increasing revenue and savings is one basis. Whether the state has worked on ease of doing business, whether grants for local bodies have been given accordingly, and how should they be given, whether too much populist measures. See, let's say a state is getting 100 crore or 1000 crore from the center, and out of this 1000 crore, 400 crore they spend on reimbursing the banks who have suffered because of the loan waivers of farmers. Then this is something that is absolutely unnecessary. Okay, no new product has been created, no value has been added, only some liabilities have been paid off. no new asset has been created. So if these populist measures are being taken a lot by a particular state, they will not get that much money from the center according to the Finance Commission recommendations, right? And this makes perfect sense. And overall hygiene, what are they doing? So for example, Swachh Bharat mission, so these kind of Jal Shakti mission, these kind of missions, how they are implementing. So that is there. Now it is very important to note down very clearly what are the recommendations of the 15th Finance Commission. First thing is, Mr. N.K. Singh is the chairperson, and if you get a question specifically on 15th Finance Commission, you are supposed to write the name of the chair as well. If you get a generic question on Finance Commission, you don't need to write. But specific question requires that you mention that N.K. Singh is the chairperson. Okay. A unique thing, it brought out 2 reports. One was for the year 2019-20 called the interim report also, and one was the final report for 2021 to 2026, not 25, 26. Okay. After that, there will be another Finance Commission recommendations that will be implemented. Okay. So that is there. I hope this is clear. Now let's see the recommendations, and overall there have not been much criticism about the 15th Finance Commission recommendations, because they have actually taken into account a lot of aspects which were presented to them. So these are some of the recommendations, and let's go through them one by one. See, horizontal and vertical. First of all, vertical devolution. Just a second. This has to be vertical. This has to be mentioned vertical. And this has to be mentioned horizontal. Please correct this if you are making notes. See, vertical devolution, I already told you that from 42% in 14th Finance Commission recommendation, the devolution has been reduced to 41% because of Jammu and Kashmir. So, decrease in overall aggregate transfer to the states because of this. Okay, 42 to 41. So please mention this. Okay. Then criteria for devolution, we will study all the criteria. We will mention all the criteria that are given in a separate page, because prelims question has already been asked, and UPSC has this habit of giving you a sort of hint from the prelims questions of 1 to 2 years that what it is looking at. So if a question on Finance Commission and its basis has been given, then you must be very thorough with all the bases that are required, with the percentages also that are there. Then grants in aid, it also mentioned on what basis grants in aid should be mentioned. So for example, and this you can get in your prelims, if not in prelims, you can mention in your mains that the revenue deficit grants have been recommended. There have been sector specific grants. So for example, agricultural sector, technology sector, infrastructure sector. You can simply be asked a question in prelims that 15th Finance Commission gave sector specific grants as well. Recommended sector specific grants, yes. State specific grants were also recommended, right? So for example, some states might be doing very well in their respective domain. So grants to them in that regard. Then grants for local bodies have also been recommended, and for disaster risk management, the 15th Finance Commission has specifically mentioned the overall million plus challenge fund, million plus cities challenge fund. Please mention this in disaster management. Million plus cities challenge fund. And in your mains examination, you will not be getting the chance to actually explain each and every one of these points. So for example, in disaster management, the scheme of distribution is 90:10 for hilly states, and overall 60:40 for normal states, right? But you will not be getting this much particular, it's not even 60:40, it's 75 is to 25. So this 75 is to 25, you will not be even getting the chance to actually explain it. Okay. So the key is to mention as wider possible points and give the depth of some of the points that you can. Okay. Don't give the depth of all the points which are self-explanatory. For example, sector-specific grants, state-specific grants, grants for local bodies. These are self-explanatory points. Don't explain them further. But this disaster risk management, this needs a little bit of explanation. So you can mention Million Plus Cities Challenge Fund that is recommended by the 15th Finance Commission to be established. Right? So this is important. Then recommendations on fiscal roadmap. This is very important. See, year on year, we have been failing to achieve our FRBM acts, Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Acts, which clearly said that inflation, inflation range should be this 4 plus minus 1%, and the fiscal deficit also should be in this particular range only, right? Fiscal deficit also should be in a range that has been provided. But overall, there have been a lot of overflow from the fiscal deficit. So the government has been borrowing more. Government has not been even showing. So for example, if you, just a second. This is something that 15th Finance Commission clearly acknowledged in one way, that you have, as government, you have been doing off-budget borrowings. What is off-budget borrowing? That if there is, let's say, a public sector undertaking like MTNL, let's say, and MTNL, because of its terrible profitability, in fact loss-making nature, it is taking loans. Now what government does is, government is not giving any loan to MTNL, but government is giving guarantee that if you are not able to give back the loans, if you are not able to give the interest, we will give the interest on your behalf. And what does we mean? We mean the money of the taxpayers, which is not fair at all. है ना? It is not fair because it is a loss-making entity. You are using the taxpayers' money to fund the salaries of someone, of a particular company which is not even profitable. So this is something that is inexcusable, as they say, right? So that is there. High power intergovernmental group has been recommended to be set up. Fiscal deficit and debts level should be brought under control, and it has been very clearly said that bring the level of fiscal deficit to 4% of GDP for center. 4% of GDP by the end of 2025-26. Okay. The fiscal deficit level should be 4% of GDP by 2025-26. You have been extensively breaching those targets, and now you need to achieve those targets. Ultimately, 4% of GDP for the center. And for each of the states, how much debt can the states, the fiscal deficit can the states have? By 2025-26, states should be having 3% of GDP as their target. That not more than 3% of GDP should be equal to their fiscal deficit. And if you remember the definition of fiscal deficit, you would remember that fiscal deficit shows the total borrowing requirement of the government, right? How much the government needs to borrow for its expenses. That is fiscal deficit. Okay. So that has to come down, and that has been mentioned. Off budget borrowings have to be reduced and eventually eliminated. Okay. Public financial management system has to be established. Tax capacity has to be increased. The number of taxpayers, the percentage of taxpayers is very less. It's less than 1% in our country. And overall, GST has been facing shortfall. GST shortfalls have been observed. So that has to be catered to. Other than that, the health based recommendations have been given, right? So for example, by the year 2022, not the center but the states should be spending 8% of their GDP, GSDP, that is gross state domestic product, on health. Okay, this is recommended by the Finance Commission, the 15th Finance Commission, and you can note this down. I'll just erase it to make it clearer. For health, the 15th Finance Commission has recommended 8% of gross state domestic product for spending in health. Now you will say, we don't even have 2% in the at the level of the center, and Finance Commission is saying that we need to go to 8%. See, we as center has a lot of liabilities, like for example atomic energy, like defense, like external affairs, like space, all of these things. States do not have that expenditure. So it is not unfair on our part to ask from the states to spend more and more money on health and education, right? So for example, if we talk about Delhi spends about 18% of its GDP on education, right? So it is not something that is unachievable. So that is what they have recommended. Then funding of defense and internal security as well, they have recommended in this regard that it should be two-third. It should be, sorry, not two-third. The funding of defense and internal security, regarding this, they have recommended, the Finance Commission headed by N.K. Singh has recommended a fund, that is modernization fund. Modernization fund, please note down the name, modernization fund for defense and internal security. Modernization fund for defense and internal security, so that the overall defense capabilities can be enhanced, they can be augmented, etc. Then centrally sponsored schemes, which are co-sponsored by both center and the states, they have to be streamlined further, and overall the funding pattern has to remain very transparent. Okay, the funding pattern has to remain very transparent. So this is what the 15th Finance Commission, these are some recommendations. Some of them you can write in your mains answers. Now, before going on to the issues, let's just see what are the bases. And this is a very, very, very important part of your UPSC preparation till the year 2025-26, and even more than that when 16th Finance Commission will come up into the picture. So what are the bases on which the 15th Finance Commission has assigned weights, which we call as criteria? Okay. Now please make this table. 14th Finance Commission and 15th Finance Commission. So just write the name of the criteria. How much weight did 14th Finance Commission give to it, and how much weight is 15th Finance Commission giving to it? On the basis of this weight assignment, the money has been given to the states. Now the 15th Finance Commission report is already into implementation, so that is there. The very first criteria in is income distance. Please write this down as the first criteria, and this is from where the prelims questions came up. Okay, income distance is basically how far is the average income of a state from the overall highest income state. So for example, please compare the average incomes of a state like Goa with a state like Bihar. These kind of comparisons. And why this? Because according to this, the money will be transferred to the less performing state. And don't think that this is basically compromising with merit and all, because we have enough criteria to actually reward the states which are doing well as well. So earlier 14th Finance Commission gave 50 points to this particular criteria. 15th Finance Commission has reduced it to 45 points. So you can also make another table, you can also make another column which says that has it been added or has it been subtracted? Has the weight been added or been subtracted? So here the weight has been subtracted. So income distance is now getting less weightage than it used to get earlier, and this is a sort of incentivization only, that it's not that you can be a poor state and you can get all the money that the rich states are making for the country. The second thing is population, and population of 1971 census. We all know that the number of Lok Sabha seats have been fixed according to the 1971 census. So till the 14th Finance Commission, the weight that was given to this was about 17.5%. 17.5 points, okay. But now this has been brought to 0. So there is no weightage given to 1971 population. The population has become too old. So here also the movement is in minus, and this is something for which there was a lot of debate from the South Indian states. Then you have the population of 2011 census, okay, the most recent census, because we have not had another census. So the population of 2011 census, earlier it was having a weightage of 10, now it is having a weightage of 15. So that means there has been an add-on, again something for which South Indian states were not okay. To balance this out, a new indicator has been included, and that indicator is called demographic performance. That indicator is called demographic performance. It's a new indicator. It was not there earlier. So if earlier it was 0, now it has been given 10. So it's again a plus. If a state has worked upon its population control, then the state will be suitably rewarded when it comes to that. So the fact that this population of 1971 was not included has tried to be compensated by this indicator of demographic performance. I hope you understand. Another very important and basic criteria is area, how big a state is. You cannot give the same amount of money to Sikkim as compared to Uttar Pradesh, right? The area is so huge. The weightage is same for both 14th Finance Commission and 15th Finance Commission. So there is actually no movement over here. So please note that down. Then another criteria which was there earlier, it was forest cover. Earlier, forest cover was given a weight of 7.5%. Now there is no weight that is given to it, so it is 0. So there is minus. So now you will think that if a particular state is spending a lot of its energies on afforestation and bringing back the forest, they will not be rewarded. No, they will actually be rewarded in a better manner, because the criteria has been changed. The criteria is forest and ecology. The criteria is forest and ecology. Earlier this criteria did not exist, now it has a weight of 10. Right? So earlier the criteria was just forest cover. Now if you are trying to save ecology, let's say you're trying to save the tigers, or you're trying to do anything for the environment, you will be suitably rewarded. So this is a good thing, right? This is a good thing. Then another indicator that has been added over here is tax effort. And this is again for the efficient state for rewarding meritocracy. Income distance, the weightage has been reduced by 5, right? Tax effort, a new indicator has been brought into the picture with a weightage of 2.5. That means the states who are able to extract more income tax, who are able to take more income tax, they will be rewarded by extra merit also, extra devolution also, right? So here please see, apart from this population and your forest cover, there are no as such pointers which have been dropped, okay, and there have been a few pointers which have been introduced new. So demographic performance is a new pointer, forest and ecology is a new pointer, and tax effort is a new pointer. And this was the whole chart that you needed to remember so that you could answer the UPSC prelims question as well. Okay, so I hope this is pretty clear to you, and please note this down. Finance Commission and 15th Finance Commission is such a topic that one time you make notes of it and you will be able to do good with these notes for a considerable amount of time, for the next 2 to 3 years at least. Now just see what are the issues with the Finance Commission, like we always see with everybody, with the 15th Finance Commission in particular. See, there is issue with parameters for performance based incentives, right? We have already seen the criteria and the issues with the criterias. So what are the other issues? That the GST, which is a basis of giving more money to them, different states have performed differently in GST, right? And GST is a very new tax. So some states do not have that much capability, and center has not armed them with that much capability that they implement GST in the proper manner. So GST is sort of an unfair parameter. Then tied funds to government programs on sanitation. This is very important. This is an issue that whatever funds the Finance Commission is recommended, they are tied grants. They are tied funds. They are tied to coal sector reforms, power sector reforms, etc. There is no flexibility to the states to implement them in the way that they wish to, right? So this is a big problem. Then overall populist schemes, like I already told you, loan waivers, free electricity, all these things, they hamper the fiscal prudence, and fiscal deficit has to be limited to 3% by the states, right? Then leave these two. The biggest problem is reduce grants to states, and whenever you get a question, this should be your first point, that the grants to states have been reduced and it was the center's decision to actually change the Jammu Kashmir state to the 2 union territories. Why is the overall devolution being reduced, right? It is not. And what is the proof that all the money that is being reduced is going to the Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh development, right? This is also an aspect. So decline in central devolution, decline in horizontal share of 10 states. 10 states have faced decline, mostly South Indian states, and reduce grants to state because of exclusive expenditure on defense, the modernization fund that I told you about. Then including 2011 census, there is big backlash on this by the South Indian states. There are long-term issues regarding even criteria like tax effort, etc. There are these long-term issues that how will you keep on, what are the parameters, what are the bases, which kind of taxes are we talking about, right? Then increased share of conditional grants is seen. We are seeing more and more conditional grants, tied grants, that if you perform the power sector reforms, you will get these grants. These are conditional. So this can be a positive also. This can be a positive also, that they are rewarding meritocracy. But then the thing is, a lot of control actually comes into the hand of the center, increasing its discretionary power. The discretionary power increases massively. Okay. And overall, moving towards performance and evolution, the efficiency based devolution, and it is less progressive. See, the thing is that the weaker states, the poorer states, the states like Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, etc., they will just be falling behind now, and they will keep on working on the population aspect so that they can get more money. Okay, it will not lead to regional, the end of regional disparity. So there have to be, even if you want to incentivize the states, you have to facilitate them for incentivizing the state. So for example, the modernization of defense fund, if you are saying, you have to facilitate that they can give the funds for the modernization of defense and internal security fund. So these are the issues, but overall, the apart from the population aspect, the 15th Finance Commission has overall been accepted pretty well. It has been implemented, and from the UPSC perspective, this topic will remain relevant. I already told you that there was a question in prelims. Do not be surprised if next time prelims asks questions on the exact percentage of the criteria. So you can see this again once more. Income, distance, population of 1971, 2011, demographic performance, area, forest cover, forest ecology, and tax effort. Do some effort yourself and try to remember this, and you will be suitably rewarded, and I promise you that. Okay, so that's all for this lecture. Thank you for watching. I hope you derived some value out of it. I have already told you about the notes aspect of it in the beginning of the class. If you have not seen it, you can go back and see it again. So I'll see you all in the next lecture. Take care everyone, and thank you for watching.